They said Ezekiel the blind could hear things no one else heard. Long after the moon slept and the village fires died out, he would sit outside his hut with his carved walking staff laid across his knees, listening, really listening, to the world. The villagers often whispered that the spirits had compensated him for his lost sight by sharpening his other senses beyond the ordinary. Ezekiel never argued, he simply smiled when people spoke of such things. But on one particular night, long before his story became a warning in Umuki, he heard something he was never meant to hear. Two strange voices in his own bedroom, low, hurried, and full of sinful laughter. He knew his wife's voice. But the second voice, that was the beginning of the darkness that had nothing to do with blindness. He did not move. He did not call out. He simply sat there on his wooden stool, listening as the night betrayed him. When the laughter finally died and the footsteps faded, Ezekiel rose, tapping his staff lightly on the ground. His heart was steady, not with panic, not with rage, but with the quiet ache of a man who already understood the truth. He entered the house. His wife, Ataku, pretended to be asleep. But Ezekiel knew better. That night, he did not confront her. He simply sat beside their window until dawn, thinking, breathing, understanding. Blindness, he realized, was not the weakness she thought it was. Ataku had always been admired. Tall, graceful, with eyes that glittered like whetstones. People praised Ezekiel for finding such a rare beauty despite his blindness. But beauty meant nothing when loyalty was absent. Ever since she discovered her husband's sightless eyes could not follow her movements, Ataku had allowed her heart to wander. She treated Ezekiel's blindness as a cloak to hide her growing affair with Dyke, a young wrestler who bragged as loudly as he sinned. Their meetings were bold, shameless, and frequent. She had forgotten that while a blind man cannot see, he can still hear the tremble in a guilty voice, smell a stranger's sweat, and feel a shift in the air. Ezekiel watched her deception silently. He waited, not for revenge, but for the perfect truth. One morning, after many nights of reflection, he walked to the shrine square and spoke to two elders, Ogbufi Anin and Elder Chikwado, men known for their sharp judgment. He knelt before them and said, "Fathers, I do not seek to disgrace my wife. I seek only to open the eyes of those who think blindness is foolishness." The elders understood. They agreed to help him. At dusk, the two old men entered Ezekiel's house quietly and hid behind large storage baskets. Ataku saw her husband preparing to leave for his usual evening walk and smiled to herself, believing the night belonged to her. As soon as Ezekiel stepped out, she lit a lamp, perfumed the air, and sent word to her lover. Dyke arrived with the arrogance of a man who thought he would never be caught. They embraced, laughed, whispered, and carried on openly, as though the home were theirs. Only when the elders stepped out, faces carved with disappointment, did the world stop. Ataku screamed. Dyke froze like a trapped animal. The lamp in her hand shook violently as the truth swallowed the room. By sunrise, the entire village had gathered. The elders repeated what they saw. No one could defend Ataku. Ezekiel stood before her, silent. She expected him to shout, to curse, to break down. But he only said, "Ataku, even without eyes, I saw you clearly." His words broke her more than any punishment. The verdict was swift and irreversible. Ataku was banished from Umuki, forbidden from stepping foot in the village again. Dyke was flogged publicly and stripped of his wrestler's title, his pride crushed beyond repair. Ezekiel returned to his quiet home, empty but peaceful. And so, in Umuki, it became a saying, "Fear the blindness of a man who listens."